Hey everyone, today we're going to start a new writing unit. We've done several units in the past talking about sentence writing and paragraph writing and informational research projects like our Black History Month writing, book report writing, which we're going to do another one. And we're also now going to learn about friendly letter writing. So there's lots of different reasons that that you could or a person could write a letter. You might write a letter to ask for something. You might be writing just like in this story that we're going to look at. We're not going to read the whole thing. This little boy is asking his mom to be able to convince her to let him have a lizard or a dragon. And he wants to be persuasive. He wants to get his point across. He wants his mom to agree with him and say, okay, yeah, you're responsible enough. Okay, you can have this pet that I don't want you to have. So we have to so you might, if you're writing that, you're going to come up with reasons to convince somebody. We also would write maybe to thank somebody for something that they gave you. Maybe for your birthday, you got a present from your grandmother and you want to thank her. And you want to do it in a special way instead of just calling her on the phone and saying, hey, grandma, thank you for this. You want to have it in a letter. So we have to learn how to write that properly. And there's lots of different ways. If you're just sending a card, you're going to write it sometimes differently than if you wrote it on a piece of paper because cards have less space. Or sometimes they might even already have a message in the letter, in the card, that you have to work around. But today we're going to focus on the parts of a letter, the different pieces that are a part of each letter, so that way you can fill out this worksheet for today. So the different parts are the body, the closing, the greeting, the heading, and the signature of a letter. And when we look at it, I want you to think of it as a person. The heading is going to be the first part here at your head, but up here, sorry. It's going to be in the upper right hand corner. And in that, you're going to always have the date that you're writing it. If you write a letter to your mom that's in your house with you, you don't necessarily have to write the date because she is getting the letter the same day that you wrote it, or maybe the next day if she was working or something like that. But if you're mailing a letter to somebody, they're not going to necessarily get it the same. Actually, they're definitely not going to get it the same day that you write it because it has to go to the post office and then the post office has to mail it. Then we're going to write the greeting. It's where you open your letter and say hello to somebody and you write their name. And that starts at underneath the date, but on the left side. And that is called the greeting, or sometimes it might be called the salutation or the opening of your letter. So you might see that on different things that you might have experienced before. Maybe a video on Brain Pop because there is a letter writing video on there, or maybe on a TV show or anything like that. The most important part of the letter is what you want to say. It's this part here where you're telling them jokes, or you're asking questions, or you're informing them about something, whatever the case may be. That is called the body. And you think of it like the body of yourself. That is really important because it's where all your organs are and where the important things are. Then we have the closing. That's where you're going to end your letter. And you might write sincerely or from or love your friend. And the last part is your signature, which is your name. And when we write letters, we have to think of different items that we need with us. So the first thing is if we're writing a postcard, and you guys have seen this postcard before, this is the birthday postcard that I give you when you have a birthday in the classroom. There were 2 people so far that have had a birthday that are going to get this in the mail. This is a postcard that you wouldn't normally send in the mail, so it's not set up on the back like a mailable postcard. Usually, a postcard that you mail will look something like this. You're going to take a stamp and you're going to peel it off and you're going to place it in the top right corner, which is when we would be writing on a letter where we would write the date. But on a postcard, you don't put it inside an envelope like this or like this. Normally, you would send it just like this. And so this would be the letter and the envelope all in one. Then you would write the address where the person lives. And it's important that we know that. Otherwise, the mail carrier isn't going to know, and the post office is not going to know where to send it. So that's something I also want you to be thinking about, is your own address. Because when we address our envelopes to send them, because we are going to write letters to each other and to Miss Friedman and maybe to our family members during this unit, we need to be able to write our return address so they know who to send something back to. And if you don't know where you live, your address, then you can't tell them where to send it and you won't get anything back. So it's important to know where you live and your address, the whole thing. So I want you to work on that with your family as well. And then on the other side, it's where you would write your letter. I start with my greeting. I indented, put my body, my closing, and my signature. It says, "Dear Mom, I am writing to you from my room. I miss you a lot. I hope you had a good birthday. Love, Rachel." Now, in my letter, I told her why I was writing. I was writing to wish her a happy birthday. Now, I told her where I was writing from, but I didn't have to. I could write about anything. I could have told her something else I did. Or I could have asked her a question. And we're going to have, tomorrow, I'm going to send you another worksheet that I've changed. And it didn't go out with the original worksheets because originally I was going to have you write your rough draft, but I don't want to rush through it. So I want to do a brainstorm instead. And we're going to talk about what we want to write about. So I didn't write about anything private because anybody could read this since it would be on a postcard. Now, this isn't a real one that I'm going to send out because I would need a real stamp. And I could make it like this and write the address, but I don't want to do that. And it wasn't really my mom's birthday. I just did it as an example. Actually, it was my sister's the other day, and I should have just used hers, but I didn't think about that. But anyway, we're going to look through 2 books that have some examples of letters, and we're going to talk about if they're missing certain pieces of their letter. And there are different ways to write letters. If you write, as I said before, if you write a card, you don't have a lot of space, so you're not going to necessarily put the date. You might, but you may not have a very long body of your letter, and it doesn't have to be quite as formal. But when we write our letter for the purpose of learning how, we're going to use all of those pieces of the letter. So in this book is a book about a boy who's trying to convince his mom to get a pet that she does not want him to have. So he's persuading her. That's the purpose, the reason for his letter. And in his letter, he doesn't include the date because or the heading, because he is giving his mom the letter in the house. And so they don't need to know what date it was. But he has all the other pieces of his letter. The only difference is he doesn't indent the proper way. And he looks like a young kid, so he doesn't necessarily know how. So, "Dear Mom, I know you don't think I should have Mickey Gulligan's baby iguana when he moves, but here's why I should. If I don't take it, he goes to Stinky, and Stinky's dog Lurch will eat it. You don't want that to happen, do you? Signed, your sensitive son, Alex." So he has the greeting, "Dear Mom." The body where he's trying to give his mom a reason, multiple reasons why he should get this pet. Signed, your sensitive son, which is the closing, and his signature, Alex. "Dear Alex," his mom is writing back to him. "I'm glad you're compassionate, but I doubt that Stinky's mother will let Lurch get into the iguana's cage. Nice try, though. Love, Mom." I'll read you 2 more. And on your letter here, he drew a picture. You could do that as well to give something else to the reader. But you want to make sure that that's not the important part. You could do that on a separate piece of paper so it didn't interfere, or you could do it on the same page, but you want to make sure you have all the parts of the letter before you do that. Dear Mom, did you know that iguanas are really quiet? And they're cute too. I think they are cuter, much cuter than hamsters. Love, your adorable son, Alex. Dear Alex, tarantulas are quiet too, but I wouldn't want one as a pet. By the way, that iguana of Mickey's is uglier than Godzilla. Just thought I'd mention it. Love, Mom. So she's giving him reasons why she doesn't think he should have it. And kind of, it's called counteracting what he said. He's telling her, this is why I think you should have it, or why I should have it. And she says, yeah, you may think that, but I don't agree. Just because he's cute or doesn't mean that I want him. Just because you think he's cute, I think he's ugly. So those are the different things. And again, his mom has the heading, the body, the closing, and the signature. Now, you want to write the signature would be different for me. If I was writing, when I wrote to my mom, I wrote, love, Rachel. If I were to write you a letter, I'm not going to write love, Rachel, or sincerely, Rachel, or anything with my name, my first name, because that's not what you call me. What you call me is Miss Friedman. So I would want to make sure that I'm looking at who my audience is. What do they call me? Because you all know my name is Rachel, but if I were to write to somebody who didn't know that my first name was Rachel and I just write Rachel, they're going to say, who in the world is Rachel? And they're not going to know that it's me writing them. It could be, there's lots of different Rachels in the world. So if I'm writing to somebody who doesn't know me and they don't call me Miss Friedman, I would write Rachel, but also my last name, which is Friedman. So here's another example, Detective LaRue, letters from the investigation. So here, I'm just going to open to the first one. And here, this is a story about a dog who gets in trouble for doing something and he gets put in jail. And obviously, this is a silly story because dogs wouldn't be typing and dogs wouldn't be in jail. But he writes a letter to his owner every single day, trying to get her to come get him out of jail. But his owner is on vacation. And again, if you want, I can read these these books to you later. So, October 1st, dear Mrs. LaRue, I hate to disrupt your vacation, but you must return immediately. An unfortunate misunderstanding, as well as very sloppy police work, has landed me in jail. The case involves the Hibbins cats, who have mysteriously disappeared. As usual, everyone blames the dog, without even considering whether the cats might be guilty of something. Needless to say, reports that I was attempting to steal their strangely yummy cat treats are entirely false. Come home now. Sincerely, Ike. P.S. This must seem sadly familiar. And it says that because there's another book in the series where he's writing her from obedience school, which is kind of like their jail for another reason, for another situation as well. So here we do have the date, and that's because again, he's not writing to someone that he's just handing the letter to. He has to mail it. We have the heading and the date, the greeting for Dear Mrs. LaRue, the body of what he wants to say. And again, they didn't indent. The closing, sincerely, and the signature. So we're running out of time for the video because for this, I'm only able to do 15 minutes. So I don't want to run out and it cut off in the middle of a sentence. So again, you're going to label this with all of those things and then start to think about, if you're writing a letter to me, what would you want to tell me about? And tomorrow you will get a worksheet, or tonight you'll get the worksheet that has the different things that you can brainstorm. And you can come up with your own ideas, but this is just to get you started. And you're going to put what each part is. And I went over it with you. And you can read the letter to find out what they are doing. And I'll read it to you quickly. We have about 30 seconds. November 20th, 2015. Dear Angela, thank you for all the nice things you have done for me this year. You are a good friend. I appreciate all the times you made me laugh. You always know how to cheer me up. Thanks for sharing your new games with me and showing me how to play. I am a much better player now. You are a great teacher. I am very grateful to have you as a friend. I hope that we stay friends for a long time. Your friend, Sophia. So let me know if you need any help, and that's your assignment for the day. Bye, guys.